Good morning. Today is June 15th, 2019. This is the Executive Prayer Line. Sharon's going to open us up in prayer, and then we're going to get started.
Good morning, friends. This is the day the Lord's made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it. To whatever level we're able to express that today, we choose to give thanks through all circumstances. We may not be thankful for every circumstance, but we choose to be grateful going through. Help us, Lord, to remember that. It's so hard to remember that. So, Lord, help us to remember that, to give thanks even when we don't feel like giving thanks, which we don't when we're going through tough times. But, Lord, you bless that, and you're saying this is the way, walk in it. So help us to walk in your ways and not our ways, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, that we can come humbly before you. We choose to lay ourselves there before you, that you can work in and through us. The sins that we're aware of, the sins maybe we don't even want to really let go of in our flesh, and the sins we're not aware of. Lord, help us to just be transparent and naked, so to speak, before you, Lord, so you can do a work in us. Help us to be that humble, Lord, and help us when we encounter others and we can see the splinter in their eye. Help us not to focus on the splinters in their eyes. Help us to stay humble, and because we don't know the circumstances or the backgrounds of the people we encounter. Help us to forgive. It's incredible that both Jesus and Stephen, martyrs, said, Lord, forgive them. They know not what they do, as they were being killed in horrible ways. So, Lord, we're not being called to do that, hopefully, at least not at this time. But Lord, help us to remember that level of forgiveness. It's a very complete and total level of forgiveness. And it does not mean that we have to condone what people are doing, but that we can trust in you, for you are our vindicator, Lord. So help us to remember that. Lord, help us to stay tuned. Help us, Lord, to be sensitive to all that is transpiring on the phone today, on this prayer call. Help us to read between the lines and receive your hidden whispers and words and spirit underneath the surface of the words that are being spoken through this educational prayer call today. Help us, Lord, to really hear on deeper and deeper levels what you are saying, just like the Bible has deep levels that we may or may not be tapping into. Help us to be sensitive to all the levels of what you are communicating. And if they're not conscious initially, that in the appropriate time, according to our ability to receive, that you will unfold those teachings and enrich those teachings as we go forward through time. So we thank you, Lord, for Althea, for the teachings that are coming through her from you, Lord. We thank you for her surrender to you, Lord, to be willing to be your vessel. We thank you for Prophetess Phyllis, who often enriches, again, straight from the throne, she often enriches a lot of the teachings through the words she's hearing from God, both individually and for the body and for us. And we thank you for everyone who contributes on these lines, for glorious, beautiful songs and Vivian's songs and prophetic sharings, and everyone who contributes and brings their wisdom and understanding, and even questions, because it's the questions that bring the answers. So we thank you, Lord, for that we are tuned in. We're tuned in on all levels. Our ears, hearts, minds, spirits are open to the teachings, and we give thanks, Lord. We thank you that you can work through this prayer line today, and we speak blessings on everyone on the line and everyone who will be hearing these teachings. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, in the name of Jesus, Messiah. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, so today we keep writing, but this is the title of the message today is Write the Vision. But this is not the beginning vision. I want to explain the living, when God gives you a vision, it's a living word. One, remember someone told me a while back, when you write a business plan, you should write a hybrid business plan, because if you're really using your business plan, you're going to go back and change some stuff and update some stuff, and depending on how active your company is, things will be changing all the time. So departments will be growing out. You'll be adding procedures, and while it doesn't fall into the business plan, it's the written version. Your even policies and procedures are visions of your plan. It's the plan of how you want it to work, how you see it working, and each one, as you grow out and you add things and you come up with a new, you either extend things or you improve systems, but it's a living organism type of it continues to grow, and it should. Some people write business plans and stick them on the shelf, never pull it out, or write the vision, stick it on the shelf, never pull it out, and just kind of forget about it and think it's going to metamorphosize by itself. It's not. While you are writing the vision and writing the plans of God and writing it, if you want to call it a business plan, it's all still the same. It's a document that is manifesting, and it is a document that is manifesting from the thought realm into the physical. A business plan is the same thing, from the thought realm into the physical, from the imagined into the physical. When you design software, when you design a dress, when you design a book, when you're writing a book, you're bringing something from the thought realm onto paper into the physical. And that's how everything that's here got here that way. Every single thing, even your even blue jeans or things that you wear in your hair. Somebody conceived it and thought before it became a physical. So no matter how small or how big, and then as you use the thing, it grows. The use, your brain will go. Your brain will automatically. Okay, I'm gonna sidetrack for a second. When you when whoever is manufacturing or doing something, like when we outsource jobs, and I've said this before, when you outsource jobs into other countries, you not only outsource the activity of that specific thing, manufacturing the thing, you also outsource the innovation of the next step. You literally gave away the whole shop, because whoever is working on it, well, as much as you can sign all the non-disclosure, non-compete, all that kind of stuff, don't steal my stuff, you can't stop the mind from taking something in it and taking it to the next level. Because if you keep, even if it's an ink pen, if you keep constructing that ink pen, one day your brain's going to go, why don't you do it this way? And it's going to do what we call innovate. It's going to up the game. It's going to make it better, because that's what brains do. If you're awake while you're doing something, your brain will automatically start thinking of a better way to do it. You can be teaching, and your brain will, like, when I used to get my kids' clothes together for school, and I would fold. I don't know if you guys know how oh my God, how washing machines eat up baby socks. You have to buy baby socks by the dozen, because you'll go in there and we used to pin them together, and my mother used to have, when we pin them together, put them in a little container so they can wash together. But it doesn't matter; those little bitty socks just there's somewhere in washing machine heaven, there's just probably zillions of baby socks, but they just go. I don't know how they float to the top. I don't know what happens to them. But anyway, what I thought to do was to make life easier was to put out all the outfits for the week, and then put all the underwear, all the socks, all the t-shirts, and the matching outfits and all the things, and then lay them all out, so that I'd have to look for them, get them all folded or ironed or whatever was going to happen, and then put the pants down, and then I would roll up. The pants would roll up the whole outfit. So once I grabbed the outfit, everything from head to toe was in that package. So I have 6 of those, because I always had extra. And 6 of those ready, so that for the week I didn't have to think about what they were going to wear. It would already be set up. And until my daughter started wanting to be a fashionista, then it became a problem, because she never, anyway. But up till then, it was working. So that was an innovation on something I was doing, thinking of a better way to do it. If you've seen them in restaurants, they develop kind of tricky ways that they do things, presetting the tables. Some people use paper, some people use sawdust on the floor, but all these are designs. These are designs on just the design of setting up a restaurant. It's 1,000 ways you can set up a restaurant. You have branding, you have themes, you have how to set up the silverware, doing something unique with the napkins. Just all kinds of stuff that they do. Or the Japanese concept of origami, where they take the foil and turn it into like a swan, and they do this and they do that. All these are unique things, but this is from the mind doing something normally, and then one day it starts to do it better. So when you send, and this is why it's so important for you as a business owner and as a visionary and being put onto a ministry of any type. This is why it's so important for you to know what's supposed to be done. You don't have to do it, but you need to know the process, because in order to grow to the next level, everything has to be uh, automated. So it doesn't, even if it's not automated in terms of a machine does it, it needs to be automated in terms of if 20 people come in, they get the same set of instructions, and then they are all doing it in a very structured, automated way. This is policies and procedures. It goes into everything. This is like if Disneyland, everything is not automated, but they have policies and procedures, and they have something called the Disney Way. And you should have for your company, you should have the way, the way that your company does it. And so, in order to do that, you study the way other companies do it. So, if other companies, you study the best practices. Always be curious to find out what's. Always looking at how people do things, because it may be something they're doing that I can use in my business that's going to improve my business. And I always look at the failures of what other people did. Say, don't go this way; it doesn't work, because you don't have to go and if everybody goes. If I wrote a book and I haven't published it yet, and it's called, I think it's called, it's about a reporter cow, a cow that's reporting on his little um he's reporting on his cow pasture and all the other cows that are in the pasture, and he's reporting it, and he's the cow. I don't know, the cow does not really think of himself as a cow. He's a reporter, and he happens to be a cow, a steer. And so he wears the glasses, he wears the reporter coat and everything, and he um starts to notice that the cows that get bigger, and this particular cow, he uh he's on a diet, and he's not going to get weight. He doesn't want to gain weight, because he noticed a pattern in this pasture that the cows that get bigger go into this room and never come out. And he doesn't know what happens in that room, but he knows that there's a couple trucks come every few days, and they come and leave, and that a lot of his friends are turning up missing. But one pattern he did realize is that the friends that are turning up missing got bigger. So he's on a diet. So when every at nighttime, it's pretty funny. But at nighttime, when everybody's asleep, he goes to the side of the pasture, and he's doing push-ups and sit-ups, and he's running around. He is keeping his weight down, because he doesn't want to get called up into that back room wherever everybody else goes, and they never come out. So he is paying attention, but he's reporting on it, because he's letting everybody know what's happening in the pasture, that something's going on. And so what happens is he's talking to his friends, and his friends are over there eating the grass, eating the grain, just saying, "Oh, this grain is so good," and they put some whatever else, they put some sugar or whatever else in the grain, and they're just getting fat and just kicking it, just like, "Oh, this is the best grain, this is the best grass ever." And then they get water, and they're eating and sleeping, and then they turn up missing. So he has noticed the turn up missing part. So he's like, "Okay, I'm not gonna get fat. And he works out at night." And so what happens is, it's going to be a cartoon, but what happens is he notices a truck that keeps coming up, and it's called H Umburger, and which is really hamburger, but it's H. Umburger that comes up and parks by this room, and then drives off. He doesn't know what that's about, but he's paying attention to what's going on. And so he tries to go around and evangelize to his friends, and tell them, don't eat so much grass, don't eat so much grain, watch your weight. You might live longer, or you're not going in that room, but you might stick around. And so we always know that the other friends are getting slaughtered, but he has managed to stay alive for quite a while. So anyway, he's reporting on it, and at the end of the day, he gets freed up, and he gets to escape, and he goes out and sees the world. But I can't remember the name of it. It's something Oh, it's Steer. It's Mr. Something Steer. Steer is the last name, but he's a cow that's reporting. So, but what happened was he noticed he noticed what was going on. So, likewise, you don't all have to. I told you that little story because what happens is you don't have to make the same mistakes that everybody else makes. If you see people going down the road and they turned up missing every single time, then you should have enough wherewithal to say, okay, let's make a study of what has happened in your situation so I don't have to go and make the same mistake. And as a kid, I really, when other little kids got whoopings, I would ask them, what happened? Like, because see, my brain was like, okay, whatever you did, I'm not going to do that. So I didn't have to get all the whoopings. And I didn't hardly get that many. But the ones that I got, it was because I really didn't know. Because up until then, if I saw somebody else continuing to do something and they got tore up behind it, I was like, mm. So what? Now, what did you do? And you did what? And you asked them, did they tell you? I never would interview them, ask them really, did they tell you don't do it? And but you okay? So then that was in my brain. I got it. Yeah, I don't have to go. So same thing. When you see other business owners going down the street making a mistake, ask the question, look into it. Some people are gracious enough to tell you, and I think you should do it as well. Don't do this or don't do that because the don't do's are just as important as the do's. And so right now I have a few people that I would love to hire back, but I'm not quite sure because they quit. And there's something about quitting. Quitting is different than saying I'm expanding. I want to go. It's an issue of loyalty. If you just get mad and quit, and the just get mad and quit is usually I could have really needed. It's like somebody I asked somebody to hold a bridge, hold the other end of a plank. I have people walking across it, and then one day you decide you're going to do something else and just jump up and do. That is an issue of to me that is an issue of integrity. So you need to say, okay, I'm going to be, just let people know, just like you would want somebody to know. So these are things that are beyond just the skill set. This is when you get ready to put people in leadership, you got to pay attention. So that is one of the things. I'm just giving you an extra tidbit. No matter how talented a person is, when you talk about leadership, you have to make sure that they have the basic functions that are going to allow them to be a leader. A leader helps everybody else get their job done well, not just themselves, but they help the whole team move forward. So wanted to make sure in leaders they don't abandon, they don't just like so quitting is a big component to this might not work for a good leader because a good leader would not just leave the little children out in the middle of the street or leave the sheep on the side of the road or just leave the team hanging and just go on about their business. That's just something that it's like being a parent. It's just something you couldn't do. You have to be you would your duty. Even if you were going to leave, you would leave everything in good order so that the benefit of the overall team would move forward. You wouldn't just snatch your take your marbles and go home. That's not leadership. That's selfishness and that's immaturity. And so when you are picking leaders, this is the reason I'm mentioning this. This is one of the lessons that I did learn from listening to someone else talk because we tend to want to hire friends, hire people that we know, but knowing somebody personally is different than qualities of leadership is different. Leadership is something where you can snap into the role and you got to do it, and the job has to get done. The duties have to get done. The purpose, the team effort has to move forward. And so that's one of the things that you kind of pay attention to because they can be great individually, but as a group, they don't function well. Or they don't have good communication skills. You have to be liked in order to be a leader. And the reason that I think Prophetess Phyllis talked about that last week, but that's very true. Jesus, everybody loved Jesus. I mean, people that knew him liked his personality. They say, you can see he had a sense of humor. He was really smart, intuitive, caring, loving. He was very attentive, and that's part of why, he was. They were some of them. They were feeding him and everything else, but there was something more compelling about him that people would be drawn, and people are drawn. If you're operating in the fruits of the spirit, you'll be good because people are drawn to that. So leaders are something. Is your business is growing, you will be hiring, not just you be a leader, but you will be bringing on other people in leadership roles, and you want to make sure that you have people that reflect your business and your vision. If it's a church, if it's a school, if it's a business, if it's even, like I said, if it's a book, if it's a book, you want to have an editor that will be able to clean up the grammatics but not lose the flavor of your message. And I don't want to go into that right now, but there's a whole thing that happens when you're writing a book. You want to make sure that your voice, because the uniqueness of your voice is what's going to draw people to read it or to listen to it or to watch videos or to watch whatever you're creating. So and it's not, it is whatever you're creating, you got to get past the nuance of, oh, I'm writing a book. Who cares? That's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. The big deal is that the book be effective. You think past the fact that you're writing a book and get into, what am I writing? What am I compelled? What's my message? When somebody picks my document up, my book, my manuscript, or watches my whatever, what's going to be the benefit of it? How are they going to be enhanced? What is going to happen that's going to make them feel incredibly better? What am I offering? What's the gift? The nuggets. And so that's what they're going to be looking at. That's what you should be more interested in. How is this going to benefit? What's the overall benefit of it? So that's the bigger picture. That's the give part, not the I am da 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 da, but what is the giving part. I think when you are, well, for a doctor, for example, by the time you finish going to school, by the time you graduate, by the time you do your internship and your residency, you really are focused on being a quality doctor, not saying I'm a doctor. You have gone past that. You're in the company of other doctors. When you're in the company of other doctors, they're not going, they're not sitting there going, I'm a doctor. They're way past the title, way past the initial gift of it. They're into um, the quality of what they're doing. They're past the uniqueness of what they're doing, and they're into the quality of what they're doing. So that's why when we're talking about the vision, we're talking about getting past the I'm going to do, or I'm going to build, I'm going to whatever, the beginning parts. You want to go to the next level. And so now, yes, I'm at net level 2, level 3, whatever it is. What is the focus now? So not the kindergarten stuff, not the elementary school stuff. Now that I'm advancing, what's the next step? So that's why this very same vision, when you start, when he tells you to write it, it'll start out in very chunky blocks that may not make sense, but you write every piece of it down. And so there's a few things going on. You're not just writing down the vision, you're also doing a study of best practices. You're doing a study, and then if you're writing a vision, we can take any vision. Let's say you're writing about a program. Let me think of a vision. You're writing a business about, let's say you're writing a program that's going to feed the homeless, or you're writing a business where you're going to create, you're going to open up a business. Let me think of what would be a good one. You're opening up um, a bookstore. Okay, one person's opened up a bookstore, the other person's coming up with a project that's going to feed the homeless. So those are two different types of businesses. So when you first start talking about it, you're going to be writing just ideas on paper, abstract ideas, not knowing how it's all going to come together, because you have the inspiration, and out of the inspiration, as an individual, there's some stuff you're going to know, and there's some stuff you're not going to know. And so and it's always different with every person. You know some stuff, and there's some stuff you don't know. So while you're writing it all down, you're going you are writing it down in blocks and chunks, and then you're also doing what's called a best practices. There's nothing that I would tell you that you don't do the best practices overview on. So let me write down what I just told you. You're doing a bookstore, and then you're doing the other person, somebody else is doing a program to feed the homeless. And this, I'm just writing this, putting this down so I can remember to keep on point with the businesses. Okay, So you're doing two of those. The person that's doing the program to feed the homeless, they have you got your inspiration, and however the Lord told you to do it, and then you have started writing ideas down. So you start writing, I want to have T-shirts, I want to have food banks, I want to have this, that, whatever you're writing. So now when you're writing it down on both of these projects, it's not going to all be a smooth come together right away. Two things you got to know at this stage: all the pieces will not fit together, and they don't have to. So some people, when they write stuff down, they won't get started until everything is in order and they understand every single piece, and they're looking at the book and they're saying, okay, at 3 months I'm supposed to be here, at 6 months I'm supposed to be here, at 12 months I'm supposed to be here, and they literally are so rigid in their planning that if anything doesn't work, they get stuck. That is absolutely not the way to do that, ever, on any planning, on any creative process. Don't try to control the nuances of every piece of it, because what the unexpected is going to happen. The wrong things are all going to happen. Everything, there's going to be days where everything goes really exceptionally well and inspired, and there's some days things are going to just get all jacked up, and you're going to feel like quitting. So that you can't go by that. So don't write that down. All the pieces will not fit. They won't ever all fit. It's nothing. Okay. You write it on the business plan. The business plan is a concept of how it needs to move forward. From business plan to functionality and real deal is always going to be different, because you don't know all the variables that are going to happen in your world. You don't know that. You have no idea. You don't know the weather. You don't know the other 10 zillion things that come in to affect your day. So don't be stuck don't be rigid on planning. Be flexible on planning, and anticipate that everything may not work right, and be very chill, 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 and on how the things are going to move forward. Because if you can get upset by the smallest little thing that falls apart, you have no business being an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs to deal with uncertainty all the time. It just is a normal part of the process. And being an entrepreneur, running the business, is very much like having kids. They do what you can read the book, but that what comes out is going to be its own individual little package. It's got to have its own personality. They're going to have an input on how, you might have a very nice, calm kid, or you might have one that's destined to change the world, which means they're going to be a fireball, and they're not going to cooperate, and they're going to say no, and they're going to question everything you do, and they're going to take extra time. So you can't, they already come recorded with their own sense of who they are and their own sense of what has to happen. So you have to being a parent, you got to look at the child and go, okay, who are you? And what are you here to do? And and you have to have a sense of humor and realize with any living thing, it's dynamic in how it functions, and how it blows up. So, and what with you responsibility is, just like with your business, just like with children, you as the caretaker have to keep speaking life into that thing. Keep talking to it. Keep moving. I just constantly, and it will manifest. But you're the engine, the gasoline, and the tank. You have to keep doing that, and you have to fight. When I say fight with the vision, you have to know, okay, sometimes the way you have it in your mind might not be the way it's working, and you have to the flexibility of it. You have to have it. You have to be able to say, okay, it's not working this way. What's another? This is where prayer comes in, and this is where business owners, business creators, entrepreneurs that are know the Lord. The benefit is you can go to God as your business partner and ask Him. You can say, how is this supposed to happen? What's supposed to happen? And He will tell you ahead of time. Get ready, because this, and this. And you have to, this is, again, a place where you have to be absolutely obedient to what He's telling you to do. You have no idea you have no idea of where He's taking you. And most of the time, and I think in every business that's inspired, divinely inspired, He will take you to the head of your industry. He will do something new. He will, when we say witty inventions, that's exactly where they come from. You could be doing the same idea that everybody else is doing, but he'll go further. He'll take you to the next level. He'll improvise it, and you will be the first. You'll be the most innovative because creative ideas come straight out of heaven. So you can be, if you knew how many scientists pray and the Lord inspires them, and so like George Washington Carver, I always study innovators because they have a unique, brains work differently, and they have a unique way of going. Um, like George Washington Carver, is his prayer was, I don't want to know a lot about a lot of things. He said, I want to know a lot about one thing. An unusual prayer to pray, but when he prayed that prayer and started operating in the revelation that the prayer brought, he began to find a zillion ways to use a peanut. That one thing, a peanut, and just turned all kinds of things. He came with all kinds of innovations about the peanut. So whatever your industry is, when you let's go back. George Washington Carver, he did a couple things. He inquired of the Lord, and then he applied himself. And then what he couldn't do, he trusted God to do the rest. So he inquired, he applied himself, and then he entrusted God to do the rest. And when I say applied himself, the part that God's not going to do the part you can do. So he's not going to come down and do the homework. He's not going to do your research. The stuff you can do, he's not going to do. The stuff you can't do, he'll do. So, for example, going back to George Washington Carver, he studied on the basics. He understood that. And then as you exercise your what you already know, you automatically start opening it up to the unknown. It's a natural process. As you ask the questions and push into the inquiry and push into that, you have to apply yourself. If you don't apply yourself, is not the fortune favors the brave. Fortune favors the brave. It favors the diligent. It favors the worker. It favors the curious. It favors the persistent. It just does not favor the lazy, the dull, the uninterested, and the quick and easy, because it won't happen. But it does favor the ones that are diligent, that can taste it, that can just insistent upon taking the prize. Those are the ones that actually get it. So in the George Washington Carver situation, he studied everything he could find out about the peanut. And then beyond that, he got the divine inspiration, and it started to manifest at a significantly greater rate. I mean, he still has inventions that are, I think he came up with hundreds, if not hundreds of inventions for the peanut. And his life is quite amazing. So he wasn't the only one that did that. Michelangelo, and this is why I tell you that the innovations come from heaven. The birth, the innovate, the brilliance. All that is divine inspiration, and divine inspiration drops into the minds of the receptors, the people that are receiving it. Divine inspiration in everything that you can possibly think of. God, heaven has a bigger, better version of it. And so that's why it behooves you as a business owner, as an innovator, and as an entrepreneur to have a divine connection with God, because he will keep you ahead of the market. He'll keep you at the best. If you not religious, not the religious, hard, structured, unbending. If you are unbending and regimented, you're going to be stuck. You may have one good invention, but you won't be able to realize that your invention is a living organism. It's a collection of ideas that are going to continue to grow. As the times grow, that functionality will continue to expand, and you need to be right on the cutting edge of it, not stuck, but on the cutting edge of going to the next level of what is this thing, what is the next piece of it. So getting back to that, when you talk to any really brilliant physicist, mathematician, scientist, anybody that has gone and looked deep into a thing, and that's the key thing. Write that down. Look deep. Let me write this down. As I told Patty I was going to give her these notes. Hold on, I'm going to write it down real quick. Go look. And then I'm going to put in look closer. curious mind is one of the best things you can have in the learning process. You need to always be saying, but what about this and why and why? And those are the kids, everybody, it takes extra time when they go, yeah, but why? Why? They don't accept the answer you told them. They always ask the question, why? And so, those are the ones that are going to figure it out, because a curious mind is like eating knowledge, consuming information, and processing, and they're learning to figure out why. The one that goes to the edge and asks why, equivalent to the one that goes to the edge and jumps off the cliff, takes the challenge, goes to the next level. That the pioneers that go to that figure it out. Why can't we do it this way? And they said, we could, people go, well, we never done it that way. Well, why can't we do it this way? We've never, it doesn't go that way. We always did it this way. But why don't we do it another way? So the innovators are the ones that say why and turn the tide of invention into the next level. They don't just go, okay, this is always this way. It's always going to, no, why can't it be something new? Why can't, one of the things I always tell people, if you're going to think about, you're going to invent a new phone, stop thinking about the phone. You're going to invent a new phone. Don't think about the phone. Functionality of the phone. It doesn't have to have a receiver. It doesn't have to, the functionality of the phone. Who says your hardware has to be hardware? Why can't it be software? Why can't it be something that you wear? Oh, this was like 15 years ago now. You see the smartwatches. You see we will have, eventually we're going to have flexible screens in terms of just these laptops won't be laptops. It'll be something very fluid that you can just, it may not even be a material. It might be something that just comes up in three-dimensional form. It's just, there's things that we can't even imagine what happens when this level of knowledge is the base knowledge, and then everybody's getting ready to go to the next level. You can't even imagine. So this is what I'm talking about studying best practices, because when you study best practices, at least your beginning is taken from the best knowledge base that other people have already done. You have all kinds of companies. So let's go to these two companies, bookstore and programs that feed the homeless. I just made those two up. So if bookstore is the company, the business that I'm starting, and I've been divinely inspired, you always have to be, God has to give you if he doesn't give it to you, don't do it. Do what he tells you to do, because otherwise you're going to be really swimming uphill in the direction that wasn't cut out for you. So, and it has nothing to do with your background. It has everything to do with what is the call, what is he calling you to do. So pretend that you've got two inspirations, bookstore or program to feed the homeless. I just came up with those. So on the bookstore side, you would go, okay, I'm opening up a bookstore. God has told me to open up a bookstore. Then he would give you the rest of that's where you write it. That's where you're writing the pieces out. Not in great detail. You're writing out the concepts in general concept forms, and they may come like in the middle of the night. You might have a whole bunch of little pieces of paper, and even in that, you're going to go in and say, okay, I see this. I said, don't worry about the branding part. Just write it all out. Write it as it's coming through. Write it down. You might come up with, you want a bookstore with specific types of books or specialize in specific children's, but whatever it is he's telling you, write it all down, and then that's your first piece. So that's your basic concept. So the next thing you would do is your part is to study. You would find out what are the next innovations in bookstores. What's the deal? You do your research. You do your research. God already knows it, but you have to know it. You have to get it into your brain. So you do your research. What are the top 5 bookstores? What's the next steps in bookstores? You start eating and drinking bookstores. You start knowing all about them, what all has to happen. This is ground zero, and then you move on from there. You might already be in one, but you know what that is. Then you can even volunteer or work for at your second job or whatever, but get into the bookstore environment, find out what it is. That's one option. Or you might study it, or you might go interview bookstore owners, or small bookstore owners or big. But you start becoming the bookstore expert, because that's your business. you're studying to show yourself approved. Now, once you get all of that information, the best practices, what to do, what not to do, what the innovations are in the industry, you study at the industry level, then you go down micro and study at the individuals level. But you got to know it like the back of your hand. Because if somebody were to ask you a question, you need to be able to answer that. Because people aren't going to give you money to research. They give you money to because you already know what you're doing and it's all laid out, and all you need is money. You don't need more research. You don't need no more this, no more that. The last thing you do, because all of that, it reduces the risk of what they're going to give you the money for. Okay, so that's the bookstore scenario. Programs. Okay, so let's do the other one. Programs to feed the homeless. So the first thing you're going to do is write down the inspiration. What is it that you're supposed to be doing? And you're going to write down the pieces, and you're going to write down why, and everything that's being downloaded into your spirit. You're going to write it down. It doesn't have to make sense. Just write it out. And sometimes when you're writing out a vision, this is another thing to just know that happens. You'll be writing down a vision, and then he'll drop in some other stuff. Just take a new piece of paper and write it down, and then stay on your point, because visions and manifestations and innovations give birth to other visions and manifestations and innovations. They literally have babies. So you have to, in order to finish one and not be starting and not finishing anything, is you write it on another piece of paper and stick it in a folder. I have entire stacks of titles of books and things because I get the whole book, but I don't have physically do not yet have time to get to it, but I know I wrote it down. I got it. I captured it, and I just set it down. So the same thing. It starts to flow, and you'll start to get the information. So now on your programs that you're saying, I'm going to do a program to feed the homeless, then you have to, in the studying, you have to know, why are they homeless? What is the problem? What's going on? Is it a structural thing? You need to know the industry of people being homeless. What is that? What is the variables that feed into that? You have to know, because if you're going to have somebody to help you with it, and they're going to entrust you to be the head of whatever it is you're talking about doing, then you need to be an expert. You need to know it better than anybody. You need to be up there with the rest of them and knowing how the thing works. So that's, again, study and show yourself approved. Now, I can assure you that once you start writing down these big chunky concepts and you put them on paper, that's round one. That's your first go at it. You wrote down what you know. You're now studying to understand the industry, and then specifically what your call and your part is in the industry is. You're studying the industry itself. And then number two, where am I going to fall in this industry? What part of this am I going to master? What part of this industry am I going to be the best at my game at doing it? Am I going to just be the best in this one specific spot, this one specific area? That's what your goal. The industries, that's your mastering. And two, what am I going to really super master in this industry so that I can say, I am the best at blah, blah, blah. I do blah, 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 blah. Everybody else is doing this, but I'm doing something uniquely different about it. So those are the two things. In the study. Now, that's your basic. After you get your basic together, the next thing you're going to do is, this thing is living. Okay, let me see. I'm going to say this. While you were building out your business, you're in building out your vision and building out your business plan, and you're studying to show yourself approved, and studying to it says study show yourself approved, a workman rightly dividing the word of truth, rightly dividing the facts, rightly understanding what the thing is that you're doing. If it's a basketball, you need to be mastering. You've seen the difference between somebody just doing something and somebody doing it like an expert, mastering it. That's part. You've got to do that. So while you're mastering that part of it, and you're mastering that, what has happened in your studying and in your vision, that those two variables, those two things are changing you. They are turning you into an expert. You started out inquiring, and you started out studying, you started out applying yourself, and you started out with divine inspiration, innovation, the little bitty nuances, the boring stuff that nobody wants to do. You studied all that part. So now all of that doing turned you into an expert at what you're doing. So you start with the basics, and then the basics practices and the basic stuff changes you into the next innovation of who you are. And then you, at that level, start working at the next level of this thing, because the vision is created. The visionary will be reshaped by the vision. You working on the vision, and the vision's working on you. God's working on both of you. You working on the vision, you fixing the tie on the vision, and the vision is fixing the hat on you. You working on each other. So you think you're doing something on the vision, but the vision is actually changing you. And then you now are evolving enough to go to the next level of the vision. So now you can step into level 2. I'll be honest, for me, it's a terrifying thing to be successful, because it moves you from where you were to where you're getting ready to be, and now you got to go. It's like graduating from you're really good in middle school. You're the top of your game in middle school. Now you got to go to high school and be the little person in high school, and it's terrifying. It's like I don't really want to go. I'd rather stay comfortable in this, but you can't. It squeezes you to the next level. It just forces you, and you got to do it. So do it. It's just, but it's not comfortable, is what I'm saying. So anyway, this is where, when you get to level 2, this is where you're going to start wearing the jacket, wearing the title, wearing the thing. You are a bookstore owner, then you're going to start saying, I am the owner of whatever you've named your bookstore. And that's one thing. My bookstore happens to be the bookstore that does whatever. What is your one unique thing you're doing in the industry? And we do this better than anybody else. What is the distinctive thing that sets you aside? Why are you in the room talking to people about it? What is it that you do that sets you aside, that's going to make innovations? What are you going to bring to the industry that's going to change it? Do you have anything if you're just going to set up something like everybody else, you're not ready. Study to show yourself approved, rightly dividing the word truth. What are you going to do that's going to set you aside, that somebody's going to give you $10 to do it? That somebody's going to say, I like what you're talking about. I believe in what you're doing. I'm going to get behind it here. Are you inspiring people? Are they saying, yes, we want to see that bookstore. We want to see it happen? Are you describing it with passion and fire? And people can, when you talk about it, people can actually see the thing manifest, because you're talking in such a way that has it taken shape? Is it alive in you? It has to be alive in you before you can project the idea onto somebody else, before the thing actually starts to manifest and they see the thing that you're talking about. And that's your vision. It's called vision casting. It says cast your cares, or you cast your fishing line, or you cast the net out. Casting, you can cast a vision to a group of people, and they go, oh yes, I see what you're saying. It's making sense. Yes, and how could we have never thought of it before? This is just wonderful. How come nobody else thought of it? That's when you have the vision. When you are so captivated by it yourself, you're so passionate about it yourself that the passion becomes contagious. And then there's a logic as to why the thing you're doing needs to be in the earth realm. That is what heaven does. That's what God, He inspires you and pushes you along. And then the thing has to be birthed, and it comes forth. And it's just, you get excited about it. You start writing about it. Now, very important, as your vision grows, you have to grow with it. So you have to grow up. And you never finish growing up. You just grow and grow and grow. But you have to grow up. I do this. Is something I have to do all the time. I literally, like, oh my God, it's just overwhelming. It's so much. I don't know what this is in my brain. And then I sit there and go, okay, grow up. This is how I have to talk. You asked for this. You prayed for it. You got your blessing. Now you have to grow up into the thing you just asked for. You're building an industry that's going to be competitive with major networks, and I can understand that. And the people that run major networks, major anything, if you want to do a Barnes and Nobles, why can't you do it? What is different about you doing a Barnes and Nobles just like Mrs. Fields? What's different? There's nothing different. Those people have two hands or two legs and two arms. They've studied and gotten in but you can be divinely inspired. When I say divinely inspired, if you start praying, if you put it in a mixing bowl, inspiration, divine inspiration, applied knowledge. You have studied and you are eating it and sleeping it and rolling it around, wearing it on tennis shoes, wearing it on a jacket, you are just slathered in this stuff. You are sleeping and eating and walking in it all day. You become the very thing you're talking about. That, and you add prayer, God will take all of that and put you at the top of the next step in that industry. It's impossible for him not to. He will, if you pray and you study and you have applied, because he's told you to go in this direction, when he busts you out, you're going to be the best at what it is, because it's just a natural process in heaven that heaven does excellent. Everything is done well. And so you're going to get the next innovation, and your job is to keep up with what he's doing and what he busts you out into. So he will do that thing. But while he's doing that thing, you have to walk into it. You got to go in. So this is what we're going to talk about right now. The two scriptures: write the vision, make it plain. And then Elijah, the thing that was he talked about an innovation. He said it's going to, and this is just an example. He prophesied something, and then he sat in one spot until a portion of that prophecy started to break through. Once a portion of that prophecy started to break through, he kicked off into the next gear and started to run with it. So he said, that's all I'm looking for. I'm waiting. It's timing. It's like, okay, let me figure how I'm going to say this. The chick is in the egg. That's one phase. It's not a chick yet. It's an egg. But something's happening inside the egg that at some point, that chick's going to outgrow the shell of the egg and peck his way out. And then it's now in stage 2, baby chick. Baby chick goes up to teenager chick, and then teenager chick gets to big chick. But the phases happen, and the phases kick off a set of circumstances depending on what phase it's in. I'm not going to get into all that today, but what we're talking about with Elijah is he was sitting there waiting for one piece of the vision to manifest, and he already knew it was going to happen. What he didn't know was the timing. So he was waiting and diligently looking for that one little trigger. And the trigger was, I see a cloud the size of a man's hand. And now I know it's getting ready to happen right now. It's getting ready to happen. He flipped into next gears because of this. That's what we're getting ready to read here. But so all that sensitivity comes from knowing what God is telling you to do in the season that he's telling you to do it. You can't do next season. This season's got a certain set of activity has to happen on this season. Then you're going to grow into next season. Next season's got a certain set of activity for that season. And then you're going to grow into the one after that. He's going to push you along, and your knowledge base and your expertise. And next thing you turn around, you will actually be the thing he told you were going to be, doing the thing he told you were going to do, operating in the realm he told you to operate, and you will be that thing he professed you to be. Okay, so we're getting ready to close out, but I want Jackie to go ahead and read Habakkuk chapter 2 verses 1-4, and then I'm going to read 1 Kings 18:44 through 46, maybe that far. Jackie, you can come off of mute.
Okay. In the King James Version, Habakkuk 2, verse 1-4. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Amen.
Okay, so you're going to read it again after I read my part. Now, did you hear what he said? The vision is set for an
Mhm.
appointed time. Write the vision and
Mhm.
make it plain. And it's got a season unto itself. And this is why the sensitivity to the move of God is so important, because if you don't know when to shift or when to move, and he'll tell you 100 different ways. He will tell you in the symphony. You know, I remember I told you he speaks in universal symphony. He speaks in ways that are such a fingerprint that only you know, or you and maybe one other person knows what it means, but it's amazing. It's unique in that he will bring to remember. He knows what he told you, and he knows what you heard, and so when he brings it back around, you go, oh, this looked like that other thing, and you'll be able to put the pieces together. But only you will really understand what it all meant. Okay, so she's going to read it again because I'm getting ready to read First Kings when he said, write the vision, make it plain. It's for an appointed time. Okay, so now we at First Kings chapter 18, verse 44. Okay, it says, okay, let me see. Okay, I'm gonna start at verse 41. And Elijah said to Ahab, get thee up and eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance. There is a sound of abundance of rain. That's what you could preach on this right here. And Elijah said to Ahab, get thee up, eat and drink, get ready. For there is a sound of abundance of rain. You need to be able to recognize when the seasons are getting ready to change. So Ahab went up to eat, and this is a smart man. He followed instructions. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he cast himself down upon the earth and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, go up now, look towards the sea. And he went up and looked and said, there is nothing. And he said, go again 7 times. What did I just tell you guys? Go look and go look closer. You got to pay attention. Something is shifting and changing. You can feel it before you can see it. But once you got to know when you're seeing it, you got to know how to be lock into the timing. And it came to pass at the 7th time that he said, behold, there ariseth a little cloud out of the sea like a man's hand. And he said, go up and say, see right here, he was looking, Elijah was standing and was moving in expectation. He had it in his spirit. He knew it was going to happen, but he couldn't see it. But he knew. He said, this is, I don't think this is when he said, there is a sound of abundance of rain. I'm going to write that on the wall, on a paper, because you know in your spirit when God's getting ready to move, and you can anticipate. And it's like when you're getting ready to give birth, it's an antsiness, and I can't explain it. Something's happening. You don't see it. It does not yet appear, but yet you know it's coming. And it's like you can feel, you can almost smell it. You can feel it, and you have to anticipate it, but it's anxiousness that's what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so he said again 7 times, and it came to pass at the 7th time that he said, behold, there ariseth a little cloud out of the sea like a man's hand. And he said, go up and say to Ahab, prepare thy chariot and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. It's getting ready to flood. It's getting ready to roll out. Okay, here it is. And it came to pass in the meanwhile. Okay, and it came to pass in the meanwhile that the heaven was black with clouds. So from the time it was in the size of a man's hand to the time he gave out the instruction, told Ahab to get ready. And it came to pass in the meanwhile that the heaven was black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezebel. That's a whole nother story right there. And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he was girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jerez. No, I'm sorry, it's not Jezebel. It's Jezreel. Jezreel. And so that was the city apparently. So the thing was that though, there's a whole bunch in here, but the thing about it was that Elijah was able to run faster than the chariots, and he got ready and he was prepared. He was waiting. for the bell, waiting for the whistle, waiting for all the pieces to line up. And he said, that's it, let's go. But he was prepared. He knew it was coming. He was just sitting. And because the Lord had told him to get ready, he was prepared. And he paid attention. And how many different times in the Bible, the virgins, the prepared, the unprepared, there's so many places in the Bible where if you're prepared, you get it, you get the prize. And if you're not prepared, you just watch it go by. Okay, so now, Jackie, read yours one more time, and then we're going to be done, because now it makes sense.
Habakkuk 2:2, verses 1 through 4. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Amen.
Okay, so you guys, in two scriptures right there, you can shout all day. If God said it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if you stay on top of what he's telling you to do, you're going to be ready when it does happen. That's it. That's the whole lesson right there. I'm getting ready to pray over you. And when I tell you again to start writing, I don't know how many times we have said this in the last few months, write the vision, write it down. And after you write it, the next thing is make a budget. And nobody should have a budget less than X $1 million, because your million is a beginning part, and it needs to be expandable. But if it's too small, it's just for you. If it needs to be big enough so that other people can fit in it, and it needs to be big enough so that you can't do it all by yourself. You need to make room for God in it. All right, let me pray over you. Father, we thank you and praise you for us gathering this time together, and that, Lord, the information has gone forth, that it agitate and get into the minds and hearts of those that are listening, that their vision catch on fire in their spirit, and that they be inspired to do and to complete what you've told them to do, that they will not stop, they will not falter, and they will not turn to the left or the right, but they will deliver the things you've given them to do, and that they will hear it, they will write it down, they will operate in it, and do all the things necessary so that you can have the maximum fruit and heaven can bear the maximum benefit of what you're going to do with their individual lives. And we're thanking you and praising you that they will have curious minds, alert minds. They will operate in the fruit of the Spirit, holding back, and no unforgiveness, no anger, anything that would block the flow of the movement of God in their life. They won't operate in anger, unforgiveness, selfishness, just outbursts of rage and upset. They won't do that. They will operate in the fruit of the Spirit, so that they can have a clear flow of your voice speaking and acting and operating, so that they can do the thing you've told them to do, so that they can be creative and see the vision, and they can actually touch it, that is palatable and catches on fire, and that they will run with it and do the thing and be sensitive to the timing of God, as Elijah was here, sensitive to the timing of God, and have the grace and preparedness to capture the vision and capture the blessing and capture the thing that you are delivering on earth as it is in heaven. We're thanking you and praising you, Father, and we're asking you to expand their minds, give them extraordinary understanding and wisdom, even heavenly anointed, that they don't have it, and they don't have it now. Give it to them, Father, so they'll be able to complete the task that you have set before them, and we thank and praise you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, that's it, you guys. We went a little bit over, but we're done. Does anybody have? Oh, hold on. Anybody have any things or comments? So hold on. Let me take you off of mute. Okay, you're off of mute. Go ahead.
I have a question. You gave the two scenarios about the bookstore and a program to feed the homeless. Do you want to mute some of the line? Anyway, there's background noise. Okay, so the question is, what if one of the scenarios was writing a book? Coming to the second part of study to show yourself approved, how would you go about that if you're writing a book specifically?
Well, your book, have you written an outline yet?
No, but like all the pieces of paper, I've done lots of the things whenever I get thoughts and ideas, and or if I get like a book or chapter title, I just throw it down. I don't know which is going to fall under which yet. You know what I mean? Which is going to be the actual book title, which is going to be the chapter title, or if there's several different books there. But I know I got the vision. I get the. So is somebody writing a book? Do you actually go check out all the other ones writing a book about that same kind of thing?
No, that's a good question. If you're writing a book, don't go read other people's information because it'll influence try to capture your idea clean so that, and sometimes the way your brain works, if you start reading other people's stuff, it'll wind up on your paper. So get your vision out first and then go and there is background noise. I'm going to mute everybody. Patty, come off of mute. Hold on. Okay, Patty, you can come off of mute. So if you're writing a book, just get the ideas down first, and segment it off, and so that you have original information. You don't want to, and you can, because if you read everybody else's stuff, it will literally be on your paper in one shape, form, or another, and you won't even maybe know that you got it from somebody else. So try to, if it's an original idea, try to capture it as much as you can first. And then sit there and get it in some structural format so it makes sense. Because sometimes your ideas come and it's not one book, maybe it's two, or it's broken out, and so you have to know that part. But just get it all written down, and then just pull the part that is enough to, and you have to pray about how to do that, but pull a part enough to start out. Your book should not be not more than maybe 200 pages. That's a good amount. That's a good amount. 8 chapters maybe. It doesn't have to be huge. It should never be hundreds and hundreds of pages. Nobody's reading that. It needs to be to bring it down to where you can have 150, 200 pages, somewhere in there, 8 or 9 chapters, clean concepts, a very good opening chapter, paragraph that says this is what the book is about. It needs to be compelling information, not boring. They don't want to know that you went walking down the street, picked up, the other, people talk about them. Make it about something. When they pick it up, they're going to go, oh, I need to read this because blah, whatever that is. Patty, are you there? Or you're on mute. Hold on.
Don't hear me? Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. My phone doesn't always unmute. What I'm hearing is that when writing a book, the study part is a little bit different. And sometimes I know if I get the vision and I'm writing it down, the study might even be within the Bible. Study it, like sometimes delving deeper. I don't know, but I don't see it as studying to compare with others, because you're saying that it will possibly influence or my own work, right?
Yeah, just but get what you have, put it into chapters, and then do that part, and then see if it should be a flow of a concept, a flow of something you're talking about. It should make sense, not just pieces, unless all those coming together for something else. But put it together, and then put the chapters together, and that's the outline.
Okay, thanks.
Right there. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions or comments? We're about to close.
This is Vivian. Thank you. Whatever I heard, this came from an awesome African American Day parade in my city.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. Oh wow, awesome. And I thank you for the information. I'll talk to you later about what I need to talk to you about. It's just really informative. Whatever I heard, I know it's for me.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Mm-hmm. Amen. All right, guys, we're done. Anybody else have a question or comment?
Sharon, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Sharon. Yeah, 2 things. One is there's a young lady who's a leader in our local community. She has a youth group ministry, and she approached me the other night with questions about a new thing. I don't want to divulge anything, but it's a radical thing. It would be a very expensive thing to finance. It has to do with cell phones, internet, that type of thing. And I suggested actually to contact you, but this is for her. And another teaching, I'm not sure it was yesterday or the day before, I'm going to forward to her, but she's a powerful young woman of God, only 25, and she's asking all these questions that you have answers for, and I'm going to definitely pass both of these teachings on to her. So God is orchestrating. He's orchestrating. It's awesome. And the other thing I wanted to share, I don't know, Patty, if this is helpful to you in particular, but I was blown away. One of my sons is very creative, and he has been in the process of writing a graphic novel, which is basically a comic book. And it may not be all that elevated in its content. It may not be something you or I would write, but what blew me away is he's taking a full year. Okay, this is a comic book. The content is not necessarily elevated in the way we think of it, but he wants to do an excellent job. He is taking a full year to research facts. So when he refers within this graphic novel to historical facts or scientific facts or whatever it is, he's going to know exactly what he's talking about. And those parts of this fantasy comic book thing, I guess it's going to be some kind of a fantasy. The historical references, the factual references are going to be spot on accurate. He's taking a full year to do that research in order to create this comic book. So if that's not an inspiration, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to share that. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Sharon. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? All right. So that's it. Tomorrow, I don't think we have we have the family thing tomorrow at Vivian. Do you know what time it is and what channel? I mean, what number?
I know it's 615-307. Was it 307-6988?
Okay.
6988.
Okay.
Did you tell the mother after an exact time? I forgot.
I don't know what time it is, but I don't have any. It's somebody. I think it was 7:30.
7:30. Yeah, 7:30 Central.
Central Standard Time.
So it's 8:30
Okay.
Eastern. Okay. The family line.
Okay. So those of you that want to be on the family line, that's tomorrow, 7:30 Central Standard Time. And if not, I will talk to you tomorrow, Monday morning. Those of you on the Clear Passage prayer line at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, Pacific Standard Time.
Thank
All right.
you.
Talk to you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay.
When will it be posted?
This will be posted today, and within the next couple of hours, Andrew will probably have it up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.